Okay, let's continue. John has enrolled in 15 credit hours and the cost for tuition is $1,177.50. Find the cost of tuition in dollars per credit hour. So that means I want to set up a ratio of dollars per credit hours. So I know that the cost is $1177.50 for 15 hours. So now I just get out my calculator and I take 1177.5 divided by 15. And, I've got it in scientific notation mode. And I get that the cost is $78.50 per credit hour. And I always want to include my units in my answer. Okay. All right, so the average rainfall in Maui, Hawaii is 35 inches per year. So find the average rainfall in inches per day. Okay, so it's given to me in inches per year, which is 35 inches per 1 year. But it wants it per day. Well, it tells me there are 365 days in a year. So if I just take this and divide it by 365, that will tell me how much per day. So I'm going to take 35 divided by 365, and that gives me 0.096. It says round to the nearest hundredth, which is 2 decimal places. So this would actually be 0.10 inches per day. Okay, the average annual salary for a computer programmer was $82,690 in 2014 and increased to $95,640 in 2020. Find the rate the salary is increasing in dollars per year. Round to the nearest dollar. Okay. All right, so to find that, I'm going to have to take the end minus the start. And I'm going to have to do that for the dollars and for the year. So the ending is $95,640 in the year 2020. And the start is $82,690 in 2014. Okay, so if I get my calculator out, 95,640 minus 82,690 is, 95,640 minus 82,690 is, well, and that's a positive, 12,950, and 2020 minus 2014 is 6. So when I do that division, 12,950 divided by 6, I get, and it says round to the nearest dollar, I ended up with 2158.33, so that's going to be $2158 per year. increase. Okay, in 2010 there were 16,858 Starbucks, and there were 32,660 in 2020. Find the rate of change in the number of locations per year. Same process. I have to find the rate of change, but it's going to be the end minus the start. So that's going to be the stores per year. So once again, my ending amount is 32,660 in the year 2020. And my start is 16,858 divided by 2010. All right, so once again, if I do my arithmetic on this, if I take 32,660 minus 16,858, I get 15,802. And 2020 minus 2010 is 10. And it doesn't say anything about rounding, so I'm going to say this is 1580.2, and that is stores per year increase. All right, so the graph below shows the balance in Maria's savings account. At what rate is the balance changing? Include units in your answer. Okay. Well, our units are going to be dollars per month. So my units are going to be dollars per month. So what I need to do now is find 2 points on the graph. And since they're scaled differently, I can't just count boxes. I can't just say, all right, I'm going to start here and go down 1, 2, 3, and over 1, 2, 3, 4. That's not going to work. Okay. We're finding the slope of the line, but we have to pay attention to the units. So let's see. If I start with this point, this is the point 0, 1,000. And we'll use this point, which is the point 4, 700. Right between 6 and 8 is going to be 700. Okay, so I'm going to take my, this is where I'm ending, and this is where I'm starting. So that is going to be 700 over 4 minus 1,000 over 0. So that gives me negative 300 over 4. Which gives me negative $75 per month. Now that makes sense. Her balance is going down every month. She put that money away for a rainy day, and the rainy day happened. All right, now I used up too much space on this, so I'll try to write smaller on the next one. Okay, the graph below shows the data for a Boeing 747 airplane. At what rate is the plane consuming fuel? Okay, well, we're going to have to measure this in gallons per miles. It's going to be a rate, gallons per mile. I'm going to do exactly the same thing that I did on the other one. I'm going to find a point on 2 points on here. I'll use the point 200, 1,000, and just because it's easy to see, the point 600, 3,000. Since this is on the left, this is my start, and this is my end. So 3,000 over 600 minus 1,000 over 200. So what does that give me? That gives me 2,000 divided by 400, which gives me 5 gallons per mile. Okay. All right, we want to find the slope of the line graph. All right, so here's what we got to do. We've got to find 2 points on the line, and from the point on the left, we have to go to the point on the right. And be cautious about it, but on your test, make sure that you mark which ones you're using in case you're off a little bit. I can give you credit for finding the slope for the ones that you chose. Okay, so I'm going to choose this one right here and this one right here. So this is the left and this is the right. So from here to here, I'm going to go down 4. So that's -4 and to the right 1. So my slope is -4 over 1, or I can just say it's -4. And if you do it another location, if you go from this point to this point, it will be the same thing. Down 4 and over 1. A line has a constant rate of change. Okay, let's find a couple of points here. So here's a point and here's a point where they cross the nice pretty grid lines. Now this let me back up just a second. This makes sense because it's going down from left to right. It makes sense that the slope is negative. This one, it looks like my slope is going to be positive because it is going up from left to right. So from left to right, I go up 1 and to the right 2, so my slope is 1/2. Okay. Now there are a couple of ways to look at this one. Remember, this is a horizontal line. Which means it has a 0 slope. Or just think about it, you're not going up or down at all. So it's going to be 0. And you can think about that. You can pick any 2 points. So to get from here to here, your vertical change is 0, your horizontal change is 6, which is 0. Okay, if I want to find the slope between each pair of points, this is where I'm going to use the slope formula. So my slope is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. If you'll notice, this is the same formula basically that we used to find these salaries and the number of stores per year. And here you did the same thing. So the slope formula is really just finding the rate of change. Now it doesn't matter when you're doing this which point you select as point 1 and which one is point 2. So I'll just call this x1, y1, x2, y2. So my slope is equal to my y2 minus my y1 divided by x2 minus x1. Okay. 1 minus -5 is the same thing as 1 plus 5 over 5 which gives me 6 over 5. I'm sorry, 6 over negative 5. I beg your pardon. Okay, for B, x1, y1, x2, y2. I'm going to write smaller on this one. So my slope is y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. So that gives me 6 over 0. You cannot divide by 0, so this is undefined, which means it must be a vertical line. And finally, on part C, if this is x1, y1, x2, y2, my slope is y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. So that gives me negative 6 plus 5. Negative 6 plus 5 is negative 1. 5 minus 6 is negative 1, which means my slope is 1. That is wrong on the key. The key says negative 1. This is wrong on the key. Okay. Okay, let's write the slope-intercept equation for each line graph. That means y equals mx plus b. You will need to know that. You will need to know those formulas. So what I need is I need to know where the graph crosses the y-axis. That's your b, and I need the slope. Okay, so each of these is going to be y equals something times x plus something else. Well, my b is right here. 0, negative 1 is my y-intercept, which tells me b is negative 1. And then for the slope, I can use that point and I can find another one. My slope is going to be positive. It is going up from left to right. So I am going to get from one point to the next. I'm going to go up 3 and over 1, which tells me my slope is 3. You can write it just like that, or you can write it as y equals 3x minus 1. I would accept either one. Okay. Once again, for b, I need a slope and I need a y-intercept. Well, this is the point 0, 4, which means my y-intercept is 4. And let's see what happens here. Let's find another point. I'm going to use that one and this one. I know it's going to be negative because it's going down from left to right. So I'm going to go down 2 and to the right 3. So this is negative 2 over 3. There's nothing you need to do on that to simplify. Make sure on your slope that you leave it as a fraction rather than a mixed number or a decimal. Okay. All right, so on this one I also need a slope and a y-intercept. Well, it crosses the axis at 0, 0, which means my y-intercept is 0. And then if I find another point on the line, well, let's pick this one right here. So now to get from left to right, I go down 2 and to the right 2. So this actually gives me, if I simplify that, y equals negative 1x And I don't have to write the plus 0. If I do, that's fine. Okay, well, stop this video here.